Hello, and in today's video we are doing score predictions for match week number 1 of the brand new Premier League season. That's right, it's match week 1, it's predictions back again, and here is the scoring system for the new season. For the correct goal difference, it's going to be 5, for the correct result, it's going to be 3, and for the correct score, it's going to be 7. So, what do I mean by goal difference? If I predicted a 2-1 win to Arsenal against Crystal Palace and it finished 1-0 to Arsenal, then bang, I've got the correct goal difference. And that also applies to if I predicted a 2-2 draw and it ended up being 1-1. Same goal difference. But what we're also going to be doing in this video is doing one player from each Premier League club that you have to watch this season, that I think is going to be the breakout star for this season. Now, I could name the Haalands easily, but that's not even worth it because we know he's going to do fairly well. He is pretty much one of the best strikers in the world. So come on, let's not even bother wasting our time with that. But if you do enjoy this video, smash a like on it. Comment your predictions in the comment section below for match week 1. I'll list out the fixtures in a second and you can get your scores down below and I will score your team, score your teams and tables and all that things. I'll score it all because I will run a little kind of predictions thing where each week, however many points you get, I'll put it in the comments and we can see who wins each game week. But let's move on to our first scorers and scores of the new season. So before we do move on to one player from each Premier League club, let's predict the first game. And that, my friends, is Crystal Palace versus Arsenal. We're not messing about here. It's a Friday night kickoff between two London clubs. Now, for this, I think we have to think that Arsenal this season will be better than last season. They were strong. There was a very clear improvement, but ultimately, when a push comes to shove, they didn't get top 4. So it was disappointing from their perspective. But they've signed Gabriel Jesus, which is a very good bit of business. They've also signed Fabio Vieira. I wonder whether he'll start against Palace on Friday night, which you would hope from his perspective. It would be good for him to do that very much. And also, they've got a very solid back line. And with Saliba in there as well coming in, let's see if he can do well. But I think Arsenal will have a much better season. I think they're going to get top 4 this year. He says, looking at his table, realising they're 5th. Oh dear. No, sorry, Arsenal fans. But if you did miss out my table prediction video, which is obviously the big one to start the season, then do catch that. It'll be in the link in the description where I put Liverpool as champions and Southampton, Fulham and Forest going down. But back to Arsenal. They've made some decent signings with Zinchenko as well. I think they're going to win this game against the Crystal Palace team who, I can't lie, haven't done that much in the transfer window. I was a bit underwhelmed when I saw their business. I mean, Cheik Doucouré apparently is quite good. Sam Johnston's okay, but he's injured, so he won't start this game. But I think Arsenal are going to win this game 3-0. Yeah, I reckon they're going to make a big statement after the last kind of few games disappointment of last season. So therefore, we're going to predict Crystal Palace 0. Oh yes, Crystal Palace 0. They're not going to score on the opening game week, which, to be honest, is quite common with most teams. I say most teams. Last season, it was obviously Brentford Arsenal. We all know what happened there. A blank from Arsenal. And the season before that, it was a blank from Fulham against Arsenal. So, I don't know. I think, ultimately, Arsenal will get the job done. Palace 0, Arsenal 3. So the goal scorers, first of all, the first goal of the new season is going to be, little side note to FPL here, the most owned player in Fantasy Premier League right now. Who is that? Gabriel Jesus. So he's going to score the first goal of the new season. Then the second goal is going to be scored by Gabriel, the defender in the back line. And then Arsenal get their third through Gabriel Martinelli. So it's a triple for Arsenal. 3 points, 3 goals, and 3 goals from all people called Gabriel. Unbelievable. Let's move on to the second game, though, and that's Fulham versus Liverpool. On BT Sport, this is going to be a tough game, to say the least, for Fulham. They're coming up with a good manager in Marco Silva. Don't get me wrong, he's a good manager, and they have been really good last season. Mitrovic, goal machine. Can he do it again? I don't know. It's always a difficult step up. But Liverpool, they've really strengthened with Darwin Núñez looking a decent option, and Diaz having a full season. That will be big for him. So I think ultimately Liverpool are going to be comfortable here. I just don't see anything other than a Liverpool win, but I could be proven wrong. I think also it's going to be another 3-0. I think Liverpool are just going to get the job done. 3-0 at Craven Cottage, with goals coming from Mohamed Salah, Andrew Robertson, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. So we're going to go for 3-0. Now, I did do a video in the week with FPL Central. If you didn't already see it, then go check it out on his channel. And I had some predictions. And I can't lie, those predictions that I'm doing right now are slightly different. But, you know, I can change it up. I can do what I like for my own channel. So, yeah, those are what I'm going to go for. 3-0 Liverpool, Trent, Salah and Robertson on the score sheet. Moving on to the next one, Bournemouth against Aston Villa. Now, Bournemouth against Aston Villa is going to be tight. It's going to be tense. It's going to be nervy. I don't ultimately think, though, that this is going to be an impossible game for Bournemouth to win because they were good last season. They were strong at home, and Dominic Solanke had a good season last year. So I think he will score, and it'll be a surprise Bournemouth win, 1-0 to the Cherries. Moving on to Leeds against Wolves. Now, for me, this is easily, just in my opinion, easily a draw because I just don't see either of these teams doing that much. I think both of these sides are just not that score, without Rafinha, I will say that much. Leeds aren't going to score as many goals, and Jimenez is injured. So, and naturally, Wolves weren't scoring that many goals beforehand. So, I think it's going to be a bit of a stalemate, but a 1-1 draw. Neto to score for Wolves, and the goal scorer for Leeds United is going to be Sinistera, in my opinion, the new debutant. Let's move on to Newcastle against Nottingham Forest. Now, this is a sort of game I can really be exciting to watch because Forest are back in the Prem. It's great to have them back, a big club with a big history. Sorry that I put you 20th, but sorry, I just don't think you're ready. But look, I think they're going to have some good players. Like Nico Williams, I think is going to do really well this season. Despite any struggles that Forest may have. And Newcastle are going to go for a strong season. They've got a lot of more budget now. They've brought in some good players like Pope and Botman. So, yeah, Newcastle are going to have a strong season, I think. And it's going to start here with a win. 1-0 to Newcastle. And the only goal scorer is going to be Joel Linton. Unbelievable, Jeff. Moving on to the match between Spurs and Southampton. Now, this is ultimately the sort of game I can definitely see being a rout for Tottenham because they always smash goals past Southampton, who like to play this back line that's quite high and quite, risky. And, I remember that game where Son scored 4 and Kane assisted 4. It could happen again, but it's unlikely. Ultimately, though, Spurs ended last season really strong. They've brought in some good players. It's just going to be so competitive, though, for that top 4. So let's see which way it swings. But I think Spurs will definitely hit a few past Southampton here. 3-0 to Tottenham, with 2 coming from Harry Kane and 1 coming from the midfielder, Bentancur. Now, let's move on to the matchup between the likes of, yes, you heard it, Everton and Chelsea. Now, Everton and Chelsea, for me, are teams that really last season disappointed. Chelsea were looking to go for the title. They fell away and ended it really poor with obviously Rudiger leaving. That's going to hurt them. But they brought in Koulibaly, good replacement. They will probably want Koundé as well, but you can't have it all sometimes. Chelsea, though, ultimately haven't been good in pre-season. Everton, I just don't know about them. I think this season they're going to struggle again. So I have to favour Chelsea based on the abilities of the sides. Everton 0, Chelsea 2. The first goal of the game from Reece James, and the second for Chelsea is going to be a strike from none other than Kai Havertz. Let's move on to the matchup between Leicester City and Brentford. Now, this is, of course, a Sunday kickoff because of the fact that there's a carnival going on in Leicester. Of course, Leicester hosted the Community Shield, which, of course, Liverpool won by 3-1 with Núñez scoring, as well as a Salah penalty and a cheeky little goal. It was a cheeky little goal, I can't lie. Like it was a decent finish, nothing to write home about, but a goal nonetheless for Liverpool in that City game. But a nice goal from Alvarez as well. But a decent little strike from Trent Alexander-Arnold. So Liverpool, they're going to be strong this season. City could be even stronger with Haaland and Phillips in there. But I think moving back to the Leicester game, Leicester will be comfortable at home. I think they're going to win this game by 2-0 with strikes coming on the day from Jamie Vardy. He always loves a Game Week 1 fixture. And let's say a cheeky differential pick. It's Castagna. He scored actually in this game last season. United against Brighton is the next one. Now this kicks off on Sunday on Sky Sports, Premier League. And it's going to be Erik ten Hag's first game. Now, do I think United will rip up Brighton? Maybe. But do I think they're likely to rip up Brighton? I don't know. I think it will be a 1-0 nervy win to start the Ten Hag era. And that only goal, who else but you knew it, Fred. No, I'm joking. It's not going to be Fred. I'm only taking the mick here. No, in reality, I actually got a good feeling about this season for Marcus Rashford. He's going to get the only goal because he's got a great record against Brighton and Hove Albion. Moving on to West Ham City. This is the final game of the match week. I think City will do very well in this game. I think Haaland will make his debut. I don't think he will score though. And I think City will win by 2-0. And goal scorers here for City. The first goal of their new season going to be scored by a little bit of... Oh, yes. Yes. Have you heard of him? He is a very good baller. I reckon he is the new signing. Alvarez now. He's not going to play though, is he? He's just not going to play. Instead, City, they're going to score through a little bit of Bernardo Silva, even if he leaves. And then Joao Cancelo gets the second for the Citizens. So that wraps up my predictions for match week 1. Let me just quickly run you through them again, just so you remember. So Crystal Palace 0, Arsenal 3, Fulham 0, Liverpool 3, Bournemouth 1, Villa 0, Leeds 1, Wolves 1, Newcastle United 1, Nottingham Forest 0, Spurs 3, Southampton 0, Everton 0, Chelsea 2, Leicester 2, Brentford 0, Manchester United 1, Brighton 0, and West Ham United 0, Manchester City 2. Thanks for watching. Get yours down below. And let's do that thing I was going to talk about. My one player from each Premier League club to watch out for. Let's start off with Crystal Palace. And for me, it's an easy one. Eberechi Eze. This season, I think he's going to be flames. Last season, got injured a lot. And I remember he scored that goal against Southampton to come back from injury. But I'm telling you, this season, he's going to do bits. Not a lot of the Palace kind of transfer business has excited me, to be honest. But Eze, when he's back fit, he can sparkle the stardust. Now, Arsenal, the player to watch for Arsenal, it's him. Yes, it's Zinchenko. The reason I say that, obviously, Jesus is a bit of everyone's going to say him. He's going to be, I think, a very good player for them this season. But Zinchenko, it will be fascinating to see where he plays, how well he plays, and how many minutes he gets. Because, for City, he was underrated. He's quite good. So, let's see. Fulham. Now, Fulham, for me, is an easy decision. There's only one man you can say, wonder how he'll do. Andreas Pereira, moving from Manchester United. He's bound to do well, in my opinion. Liverpool. Now, it's easy to say Salah, but I'm not going to. Instead, we've got to go for the new arrival, and that's Nunez. Now, I've thought about Diaz, but to be honest, I don't think Diaz is all that. I think he looks good. He's got skills, but can he score enough goals? I suppose only time will tell, and we'll see if he scores goals this season. But for me, Nunez looks brilliant. What a player from Benfica. Really good natural goal scorer. And, the first time they've had that, Liverpool, a number 9 in proper kind of goal scoring form. I mean, Firmino was good, but he kind of wasn't ripping up trees. And they've not really had a proper number 9 since Suarez. So I say it's number 9. He can play on the wing, but you get what I mean. They've just not really replaced him. So I think this guy could be the business. He's looked good from what I've seen. Then Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth is a tricky one, but Solanke's too obvious. I would probably say one to watch out is... I'd say Zamora, to be honest. The fullback, Jorge Zamora. Because Jordan, not Jorge. Jordan Zamora. I think he's very attacking. I think he gets forward. He looks a very promising young talent. So we'll say Zamora. Villa... For me, it's an easy one. For Villa, they've made some good signings in the window, and one of those is Diego Carlos. I think he's a very strong centre-back. He should be really exciting this season. Leeds United, for me, it would be Sinistera. I think Sinistera this season is going to do well. Wolves, for me, the one to watch is Pedro Neto, because he missed out last season with injury, but I think he'll be back with a vengeance. Newcastle, I think there's only one man really we can give this one to, and it's Botman, because he's been highly rated in other leagues, but will he do it in the Premier League? Nottingham Forest, I think one to watch is definitely Awaniwi. Is it Awaniwi? I think that's it. I'll not say that name again because of how hard it is to pronounce, but we got there in the end. They've signed him and he had a great goal scoring record, so be interested to see how he gets on. For Tottenham, Richarlison, I wonder where he'll fit in with Kulusevski. Southampton, I think one to watch is definitely going to be Lavia. Lavia's got a lot of kind of people that rate him, and he looks like a really promising player. I can't lie. So Lavia for me, definitely one to keep your eye on. The midfielder Romeo is possibly going to pull the heartstrings for those Southampton fans. I'm not sure why I said that. Moving on, Everton. I think Everton are going to have a tricky season, but if there is one player to get them out of it, it's going to be a player who really I just don't understand like why Everton haven't like played him enough. It baffles me. But Nathan Patterson, I think he's a class act, and I think he's going to do really well. Chelsea is a tricky one because they've made a few signings, but for me, I'm going to go Koulibaly because I think he's going to be the answer to their defence and their defensive issues, because last season they were a bit leaky at times and they need that Rudiger replacement. But Koulibaly on his day is class. Leicester City, now for me, Leicester, they haven't brought in a lot of new players, but Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, I think if you see him get regular minutes this season, he could be really good. Brentford for me, it's Keane Lewis-Potter. He's been highly rated at Hull. I think he'll do well. Manchester United, easy. It's going to be Martinez for me. Despite United's links with other players, I think Martinez is a class defender, and I think he'll do really well. Brighton is interesting because, again, I'm not too sure who they kind of will actually will do well for them, because they've picked up a few players here and there, but I think for me it's an old favourite. It's Leandro Trossard. I think last season wasn't great from him, but I think he always does quite well at the start of a season, so watch out for the Belgian. It's always a Belgian, as Spencer FC usually says. Spencer Owen. West Ham United, this is an easy one for me. Skamaka, what a player. Finally, West Ham have signed a forward, and that puts a bit less strain on Antonio's hamstrings. But ultimately, yeah, he looks really tempting, Skamaka. He looks a good forward, and I think he'll do well. And then finally, for Manchester City, I think for Man City, it's got to be Calvin Phillips. How will he bed into that system? How will he control that midfield and replace that hole left by the leading Fernandinho? So for me, those are my players to watch. Not necessarily players who I think will score goals or necessarily will be good on the eye, because you can just choose who you like. But in terms of who do I think is going to make an impression when there might not be much of a shout for them to do that, I think that's going to be who we're going for. Thanks for watching my Premier League predictions for Match Week 1. As I say, get yours in the score predictions down below, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.